Jennifer Schaefer, People's Realtor of Colorado. Very excited to be coming back to you today with one of Robert Greene's most famous laws of power, law number 15, crush your enemies completely. And as usual with Robert Greene's laws, I'm gonna add a little bit of nuance and scale it back and add a few or a lot of layers of subtlety to make it suitable for real estate purposes. But if you just reframe it as crush your competitors completely, this is an incredibly useful and important law for buyers in today's really tight and competitive sellers market. Because the reality is that there are way more buyers than there are properties, and so speed is key. And I can't emphasize that enough, because most properties, if they're reasonably priced and they're relatively desirable, they're only on the market for about a week and then they get snapped up by a buyer. So I had a really unfortunate circumstance just the other day where I had a scheduled showing for one buyer on a Saturday morning, and he had an emergency and had to reschedule for the next day. But I actually got a call later that Saturday that they had automatically canceled the showing and that they had decided to accept another buyer's offer already. And he never got to see the place, even though it was a perfect fit for him, which is really frustrating. So speed is important. It's very, very key. But also, there is one incredibly important and helpful tool that buyers have at their disposal to stay ahead of the competition, which is an escalation clause. And this is a clause that is added to a contract to buy and sell real estate, otherwise known as a purchase offer. And what it does is it automatically will bump up your offer amount, usually by increments of 1,000 or 1,000 more than the nearest competitor. And these clauses are really useful, and there are only a few steps that you really need to keep in mind in order to use them properly. So number one, of course, figure out what your maximum amount is, because the escalation clauses rarely will pay any amount. You definitely want to figure out, number one, what you're willing to pay, and number two, if there are any restrictions on the amount you can pay based on financing limitations, like the amount of a loan you can get approved for, or the amount of money that you're able and willing to spend over the appraisal price, which often comes out of your own pocket. So, number one, figure out your maximum, your cap on the escalation clause. Then also call the other seller's agent. Have your agent actually call the seller's agent, which is better, and figure out what other offers have been submitted and for how much, and if there are any other terms and conditions that you need to keep in mind. But focusing on that offer amount, you can come in at usually just about $1,000 more, just enough to make it slightly more desirable than the next best competitor. But the trick is you will also include the clause which says if anybody else tries to come in and sneak in behind you and just barely outdo your purchase offer by $1,000 or some other small amount, then your offer will automatically increase, often in increments of $1,000 or $1,000 more than the next best offer. And then, this is important too, and it factors into time. You definitely want to figure out what the shortest acceptance deadline is for the seller that they are willing to accept, because you don't want this game of one-upsmanship to go on forever. The longer that the seller takes to accept an offer, the higher the probability that more and higher offers will come in and force you to pay more and more. So if the listing says something like, please give seller at least 48 hours to decide, then call the listing agent and say, okay, if we set the acceptance deadline exactly 48 hours from when we submit this offer, is that acceptable to the seller? If they say yes, do not give them 1 second more. Limit the time as much as you possibly can so that you are limiting your out-of-pocket expenses as much as possible. So once that's set, you know how much you're gonna offer as a maximum, and you know what the competition has offered already. Submit the offer as soon as possible, because time really matters in terms of your bottom line in this case. So submit the offer And then in the event that your competitors come in and try to just barely outdo you by offering $1,000 more than your base offer, your offer will be designed to automatically increase and always increase as long as they keep trying to play that game until the seller has no more time to make a decision, and hopefully you have at that point escalated your offer to exactly the right amount it needs to be in order for you to win, beat out your competitors, and get the home you want. So that is how you can use escalation clauses to really apply Robert Greene's best 15th law of power, which is crush your enemies or competitors completely. And once again, I'm Jennifer Schaefer, People's Realtor of Colorado. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, definitely hit the thumbs up, and please leave a comment if you think there's another video on real estate that I should make. Also, if you are thinking of buying or selling real estate in the state of Colorado, please do reach out to me anytime through my website, my social media, phone number, email. It's all going to be linked, and I look forward to hearing from you and helping you in any way I can. Thanks so much, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Take care. Bye-bye.